I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to tell you something most people don't realize until it's far too late. If your life ended tonight, would you be satisfied with how you spent your time? Not impressed with your achievements, not proud of your job title, just honestly satisfied with the way you lived. I know that feeling because it happened to me. My name is Daniel Whitaker, and for most of my life, I believed I was doing everything right. I lived in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, worked at a consulting firm downtown, and followed the same routine millions of Americans follow every day. Wake up early, grab coffee, sit in traffic, spend 10 hours chasing deadlines, then come home exhausted and tell yourself you'll slow down someday. From the outside, my life looked successful. I had the house, the salary, the respect of my coworkers. But here's the hook nobody tells you about success. You can achieve everything you thought you wanted and still feel like something is missing. For years, I ignored that feeling. I told myself I was just being responsible. After all, that's what adults do. You work hard now so you can enjoy life later. That's the deal society sells you. But here's the truth I eventually learned the hard way. Later is the most dangerous word in the English language. The moment that changed everything happened when I was 52 years old. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in downtown Chicago. I was sitting in a conference room overlooking the Chicago River with a few coworkers. Brian Mitchell, one of the analysts on our team, was presenting quarterly projections on a projector screen. Numbers, charts, percentages. The kind of conversation that feels important in the moment, but meaningless in hindsight. I leaned back in my chair, took a sip of coffee, and suddenly the room started spinning. At first I thought maybe I hadn't slept enough the night before. But then a heavy pressure spread across my chest like someone had placed a weight on it. My hands started shaking and my vision blurred. Within seconds, the voices around me faded into the background. The next thing I remember is waking up under bright hospital lights with machines beeping beside me. My wife, Sarah, was sitting in the corner of the room crying. A doctor walked in and calmly told me I had experienced a cardiac event. That's the polite medical way of saying my heart had nearly stopped. Then he said something that confused me at the time. "You're lucky." Lucky? I had just come face to face with my own mortality. But later that night, lying in that hospital bed staring at the ceiling, I realized why he said it. Because that moment forced me to ask a question I had avoided my entire life. If I had died that afternoon, what would my life have meant? The honest answer was painful. I would have left behind a respectable career, a house someone else would eventually live in, and a list of business accomplishments that nobody outside my office would remember in 10 years. That realization hit me harder than the heart attack itself. Here's the hook that changed how I see everything. I had spent 30 years preparing to live, but I hadn't actually been living. Every day followed the same pattern. Work harder, earn more, chase the next promotion. Tell yourself you'll finally enjoy life later. That word again, later. I'll travel later. I'll spend more time with my family later. I'll start doing what I love later. But life has a strange way of exposing that lie. A few years after my heart attack, I attended the funeral of a close friend named Kevin Ramirez. Kevin and I met when we were both in our 30s working in Chicago. He eventually moved to Dallas and built a construction company that became extremely successful. Kevin was the definition of a hard-working entrepreneur. 70-hour weeks were normal for him. Whenever anyone asked when he was going to slow down, he always laughed and said the same thing: next year. Next year finally arrived, but it didn't come the way he expected. Kevin suffered a stroke at 68 and passed away 3 days later. At the funeral, his son Lucas stood up to speak. His voice shook as he said something that still echoes in my mind. My father was a successful man, but I barely knew him. The room fell silent, because everyone understood what those words meant. Kevin had spent so much time building his business that he unintentionally built distance between himself and the people who loved him. That moment forced me to confront something uncomfortable about regret. Most people think their regrets will come from mistakes they made, but the truth is different. Your biggest regrets will come from the things you never did, the opportunities you postponed, the people you didn't spend enough time with, the dreams you assumed you had more time to pursue. I don't lie awake thinking about failed deals from my career. Those things fade quickly. What stays with me are the small moments I missed. The fishing trips with my brother Andrew that I canceled because work was busy. The nights my daughter Emily asked me to help with homework and I told her I was too tired. The road trip Sarah and I talked about taking along the Pacific Coast Highway, but never scheduled. Those moments become the memories that follow you later in life. Another truth life eventually reveals is that the people you love are not permanent. When I was 45, my father passed away unexpectedly. Our relationship wasn't bad, but it wasn't as close as it should have been, mostly because I was always working. I kept telling myself we'd spend more time together once life slowed down. One evening, my sister called and told me Dad had suffered a heart attack. By the time I reached the hospital, he was gone. For years afterward, I replayed small moments in my head. The Sunday phone calls I skipped, the dinners I didn't attend. And here's the truth people rarely accept when they're young. Time with the people you love is limited. After my heart attack, I slowly began changing the way I lived. Not overnight, but intentionally. I stepped back from my workload and started saying no to things that didn't truly matter. Sarah and I finally traveled. We drove along the California coast and watched sunsets over the Pacific Ocean. We visited Yellowstone National Park, something we had talked about doing for 20 years. Over the past 21 years, I've learned something surprisingly simple about life. What matters most isn't complicated. Time with people you love, work that feels meaningful to you, experiences that create memories, When you're younger, advice like this can sound cliché. But once you truly understand that time is limited, everything changes. You stop postponing joy, because the perfect moment never arrives. Life stays messy, busy. It's the reason to start now. These days, I spend most of my time with my grandchildren. Watching them run around the backyard reminds me how quickly life moves. Now I know better. If I could sit down with my 30-year-old self today, I would tell him something simple. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Stop sacrificing your health for your career. Call your parents more often. Take the trips you dream about. And most importantly, stop waiting for someday, because someday isn't guaranteed. I'm 73 years old now, and every year that passes reminds me just how quickly life moves. If I'm lucky, maybe I have another decade or two ahead of me, a few more years to enjoy quiet mornings, meaningful conversations, and the simple moments I once rushed past. I'm happier now than I was when I was 30, even though I thought I had everything back then. At 30, I believed success and busyness were signs of a good life. Because once you understand that time is limited, something changes inside you. You stop wasting energy on things that don't truly matter. So let me ask you one final question. If your life ended tomorrow, would you be satisfied with how you spent your time? If the answer is no, maybe today is the day you change something. Call someone you've been meaning to talk to. Take that trip you've been postponing, because the clock is ticking for all of us. And if this story made you think about your own life, take a moment to reflect on what truly matters. If you want to hear more real stories and lessons like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. You never know who might need this reminder before it's too late.